Today we're covering installation of a loaded strut assembly. We'll install these Duralast Loaded Strut assemblies on a 2007 GMC Sierra, and we're going to install shocks in the rear for a complete suspension job. With the loaded strut assembly, you don't have to take the assembly apart to get to the strut. Instead of taking an old assembly out, then removing just the spring from the strut, you get to put in this whole new assembly. That's a new strut mount, insulator, dust boot, new coil spring, and the strut itself. With a loaded strut assembly, that's all in one piece. Now you can do this job at home with hand tools. You'll need a torque wrench. You can get this from AutoZone through Tool, a mallet, a 1/2-inch breaker bar, a 3/8-inch extra long extension, 22mm socket, 21mm socket, an 18mm deep well socket, a 15mm deep well socket, a 3/8-inch ratchet, a 1/2-inch ratchet, a 15mm wrench, a 21mm wrench, and of course safety gloves and glasses. You might want to use some PB Blaster to loosen up some of those joints. Now for the front install, we're going to find the 3 top strut mount nuts under the hood. Now we're going to use a 15mm deep socket with a 3/8-inch extra long extension to loosen and remove them. It's easier to access these nuts while the truck is on the ground. Once you've got the nuts loosened and removed, we'll need to get the truck raised and the wheel off to access the strut inside the wheel well. Break the lug nuts on the wheel with the socket and breaker bar, then jack up the car. Add a jack stand to a secure part of the frame and lower the car onto it. Take off the lug nuts and remove the wheel. Now you can access the strut assembly. Now you're going to want to locate the 2 bottom bolts on the strut assembly. Loosen and remove them with a 15mm deep socket. You won't need a wrench here because the nuts are fixed onto the strut. Once the bolts are out, just slide out the old assembly. Since we have a Duralast Loaded Strut assembly, we can just go ahead and install the new assembly now. You should be able to access the top studs through the wheel well with your hands. Finger tighten the top nuts supplied with the new strut to hold the assembly in place. We'll tighten them all the way through the hood later. Reinstall the bottom bolts and tighten. If you're torque specking, this torques to 37 foot-pounds. If you can reach the top nuts while the truck is raised, go ahead and tighten them under the hood with the ratchet and extension. If not, get them as tight as you can and then tighten all the way after the wheel is reinstalled and the car is lowered. Reinstall the wheel and lug nuts. Lower the car until the wheel is touching. Tighten the lug nuts in a star pattern. These lug nuts tighten to 140 foot-pounds of torque. Repeat on the other side and you're ready to move to the rear. For the rear install, jack up the car, place it on jack stands, and remove the wheel following the same process we used for the front. You may want to place the jack under the rear differential of the vehicle. Use a 21mm socket and a 21mm wrench to loosen and remove the bottom nut on the shock. Now remove the bottom bolt. You may need a mallet and a punch to get it all the way out. Remove the top nut with a 21mm socket. We used a 1/2-inch ratchet. This bolt is fixed to the frame, so you won't need a wrench here. And now we just take the shock out, and then we just install the new shock. Get one of the top bolts started to line up the shock, and then compress the shock and slide it into the bottom. Insert the bottom bolt, install the nut, and tighten. For torquing, this is 85 foot-pounds. Now you can tighten the top nuts. These are also torqued to 85 foot-pounds. Now put the wheel back on using the same steps outlined for the front and lower the car. Repeat on the other side and you're done. Remember, you may want to take your car in for an alignment to check caster after any suspension job, and take the car for a test drive to enjoy your new ride.